Okay, this is it. I'm actually a little more nervous than I originally thought I was going to be when making this kind of video, but that's kind of one of the points of this video. So let's just get right into it. Hey, my name is Simon. I'm 21. I'll be 22 in exactly a month from today. And for as long as I can remember, or at least right before I was 10, I've been wanting to make a YouTube channel. In fact, I've made many YouTube channels. I did have one when I was 8 years old. I would just post whatever I wanted to post, and every couple of years I would try and make another channel in my 10s. Usually they'd be gaming related channels. The past few years, same thing, playing around with gaming, streaming, even writing like a blog. I've done 2 different blogs at this point in my life. That's just to say that this whole time I've basically been wanting to make content, but nothing really like this where I'm the content. I don't want these in my ear while I'm recording. Nothing like this where I'm the content. It's not like we're talking about something else or playing something else, or I'm the content, I'm giving the information. So that's the difference this time. Basically in this video, I just wanted to go over reasons why I'm going to be making this YouTube channel, and well, I plan to be making a new video once per week, around there sort of schedule, to keep myself in line and committed. I see there's a huge trend recently of why you should make a YouTube channel in 2024, and although this isn't my first channel, this is my first channel where I'm talking about ideas and thoughts and sharing them. So this is probably my most vulnerable channel to date. With that being said, I did want to go into the actual reasons why I'm making a YouTube channel, and maybe why you should consider to make one as well. And then after that, we'll also discuss potential downsides, what ifs, things that might be keeping you away from making a channel, or maybe delaying you, giving you resistance. And we'll discuss those things too, because they're a part of the game and we have to consider them. For me, the first reason that I want to make a channel is as a form of contemplation. I've found that speaking, talking about ideas, thoughts, can be a strong form of unorganized contemplation, where you're just speaking about what comes to mind. Helps me organize my thoughts. Basically, it's what contemplation is. If I'm thinking about something, if I'm doing something in real life and I'm working through it, contemplation serves as a very helpful guide to organize that process so that I can better utilize it in my life. Speaking is one of those forms of contemplation that I can use in order to do this. And so if I'm committing to making, let's say, 1 video per week on YouTube, it encourages me to contemplate every week. Getting into a habit of contemplation is not easy. It's simple, you can factor it into your schedule, but it's been tougher for me. I don't love writing. Find it a little bit boring sometimes, and I get into loops very easily, personally speaking. I'm still going to do it, but I think committing to a speaking kind of, or a talk-based contemplation, is going to help me with my life to expand on my ideas, organize my thoughts, and direct my life better. Another reason, a big reason that I want to make this channel, is actually to speak better, speaking off the cuff better, removing the filler uhs, like. Another one is feeling more comfortable with silence in between periods of speaking. I think sometimes it's difficult to speak, or it feels more uncomfortable to speak when there's gaps between what you're saying because you're thinking about something. And I actually think those gaps are pretty valuable. So I want to get into the habit of practicing allowing myself to have those gaps. I can edit them out of videos. I can keep them in if it feels like they serve a special purpose. They highlight the fact that I'm thinking about something. Yeah, that's point number 2. Basically just working on my ability to speak, getting better at sharing my ideas, clearing out filler words, speaking more clearly, all that kind of stuff kind of falls onto the second category. The third reason is that maybe my thoughts could help people. I am very introspective and I think a lot about what's going on in my life and in other people's lives. And I come up with ideas, and these ideas may be helpful, might not be helpful, but they help me to talk about them. So maybe they'll help people watching as well. Just a possibility. If I can give some value, that's a benefit. It's not my main purpose right now, but it's a benefit and another reason to make a channel. Fourth reason is just this could be used as a log of my thoughts over a period of time. So right now it's early January 2024. Sorry, late January. It's the 27th. Oh, I meant to say early 2024, but it combined anyway. And I can look back in time and see how was I thinking back then. And I'm speaking from a perspective of a future me. Using these videos as a log is just interesting. I can look back on my development over time and see what's changed, what's stayed the same, what have I been doing during those periods that has brought me to the person I am, both for better and for worse. So that's another reason that I'm making these videos. Another big one for me is getting into a habit of doing these things. It's just something that propels me forward and prevents me from being overly stagnant. It's very easy for me to get caught up in my head and decide, should I do this? Should I not do this? What am I supposed to do? The cure to inaction is action. You just gotta make a move and iterate along the way. While I have many ideas of what I'd like to make in regards to content, in regards to business, in regards to art, anything, there's so much thinking you can do, and if you're just constantly thinking, you're not going to make anything. And the key really is that you make things better when you make them more. So in that way, that's the 5th point that I have, just encouraging me to take action and not remain stagnant and continue to wait for a perfect opportunity, which probably won't arrive. Another good one, the 6th point I have, is that making this channel will encourage me to read more, to take in better forms of input, of information. If I'm presenting myself to an audience, I want to present myself as the best version of myself. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to become smarter, think better. And to do those things, you've got to take in good information, good quality information, and think about it. For example, recently I've been slacking on my reading. And if I want to have ideas to talk about, and to talk about them sufficiently and in a way that is thoughtful and maybe helpful, I have to read and contemplate. I can't just do nothing, or else my thoughts are baseless, pointless, not really useful, helpful, just for entertainment. And that's not what I want to do with this channel. I want it to be valuable information that's being shared, at least to the best of my ability, knowing what I know, having the skills that I have. And that kind of goes into the last point, which I think is the 7th point. Same deal. On one end, I'm taking in good inputs. On the other end, I'm putting out good inputs. That includes implementing habits, writing, contemplation, thinking, fiction, anything really that gets me going, gets my mind going. And drawing, whether it's doodling or actual art, those are also actions that can help develop me better as a person, which makes the content better. Overall, just makes it more worthwhile. So And obviously there's other outputs that I'm already doing, working out, meditation. Those aren't really outputs, but there's things that I'm already doing that kind of fulfill this need or this benefit of making this, but it just helps enforce those things and add new things as needed. Cool. So those are the main benefits I could think of briefly as I was writing notes for this video. Obviously, there's probably countless more benefits that I could make or I could think of. And I might think of more right now, maybe. The point is, I'm not making a list of things that I'm going to adhere to. It's more like these are my thoughts right now, and maybe I add some to it later. Maybe I take some away from it later. Who knows? But just putting it out there now, those are my thoughts about why this is going to be a benefit. So obviously, for many people starting anything, including a YouTube channel, there are things that they are resisting or things that are making them resist starting that channel or starting that venture. So I'm going to talk about some of my resistances, and I think many people have these resistances as well. And we're just going to talk about them and talk them through because they are valid, I think. First one that I have written down, potential downside, is that these channels, especially if you have your name on it, you're filming yourself, you're speaking about your thoughts, are a form of expression. You might express yourself wrong. And by wrong, I mean you might express yourself in ways that you don't like, that aren't ideal. And you're putting that out there on the internet, and that can be scary because you want to present yourself in a way that is authentic. This is pretty scary, I think, because I have a vision of myself as I want to be. And when you're putting stuff out there, whether it's internet or with people you know or family, you're expressing. I think most human beings have an innate desire to express authentically. And the fact is, you might just not, one video might not be an authentic expression. The next one might be a little bit better. Maybe another one is just not you completely. Who knows? So it's kind of like a hit or miss. Obviously, you don't have to upload all these videos, but at some point you gotta post something. So it can be scary. And that's one of my main resistances. And to that, I think it just goes back to my previous point of reasons why I'm doing this in the first place. You get better at doing it as you're doing it. So if your goal is to express better, which is, hey, actually it's a pretty good reason to start a channel, then you have to express more. How do you expect to express yourself better when you're not expressing yourself really at all or very little? You get better at expressing yourself as you express more. So this is a form of practice of expression, and practice improves your ability. So in reality, yeah, you might not express yourself perfectly when you first start, but the more you do this, the better you'll get at expressing. So it's just a benefit to me, I think. Next potential downside, which I think a lot of people have, is vulnerability when you're speaking online. Whatever you're doing, but especially if it's about your thoughts, about your ideas, about your experiences too, you're being vulnerable. By putting yourself out there, people can tear you apart. You're exposing your ideas, which again might not even be complete ideas. Your ideas might be partial. You're thinking about them, and making a video might help you think about it. But ultimately, it's like, well, am I sure? Do I really know? So you're being vulnerable. You're putting yourself out there. You could be attacked. You could be misunderstood. You could be wrong. You could put something out there that later on you just decide is incorrect. And obviously you can take that down, but at one point you know that you were mistaken, at least relative to your idea of what's right now. That's a big one. Being vulnerable is a tough resistance to making content. And the upside to that, the flip side to that in my mind, is that when you're making content, you're learning to use your vulnerability to help other people. Ultimately, the way you connect with other people is by being vulnerable, by sharing yourself, by sharing your experience, your feelings. Obviously, we're not just here to talk about ourselves constantly. And that's why I said that the upside is learning to use your vulnerability as a tool. For instance, this channel is not a dump of my personal experiences. In fact, I'd rather not share them unless I feel or I think that they could be useful for the point I'm trying to make, that they could relate me to the audience who is experiencing something that I've experienced or am experiencing. And that way, vulnerability, it's still being vulnerable, but it's being put towards a good purpose, connecting to people, showing them that, hey, I'm going through what you're going through, or I did go through what you're going through. I understand on some level what you're going through, and I think that can really help people who are struggling with whatever it is. The last part, the last potential downside that I'll talk about, which kind of connects to the previous two, is that, and even some of the benefits, is that when you're making content, especially if the content is revolving around you, what you put out becomes a part of your identity. The way you present yourself becomes a part of who you are and who you're becoming. Why is this a downside? Well, maybe you're not posting content about what you want to become, about who you really are. Maybe you post content that is just not fully thought out, or who knows, you just post stuff that doesn't really sit well with you because you're trying to get better at it and you have to do something. And maybe you post things that, again, aren't really representative of who you are. They aren't properly expressed. And this can form your identity of who you are. That could be a problem because you want to be a certain person, you are a certain person, and you want to be an ideal. And if you don't express yourself properly, you're holding yourself back, or you're going in another direction entirely. That's a tough one for me. I definitely have my reservations about how I want to be as a person and what kind of content I want to make, understanding that it becomes who I am, especially if it's under my name and is a video of me speaking. This is a reason why I've stopped so many other channels, especially the gaming ones. I don't care that much about gaming. I don't want to consider myself as a gamer. I don't want to be a streamer for many reasons, but also a big part is the identity of that person. I don't want to be that. And so obviously I'm not going to want to make content like that. The first upside, going right from that point, is make content you want to make. Make content that you're proud of. Make content that you feel really expresses who you are. Not just any form of content. You could make other content if you want. In my mind, if that's the case, you should separate yourself from it a little bit. So if you're going to make a gaming channel, but you don't want to be seen as a gamer, then limit the amount of connection that channel has to your personal identity. The other thing is that there is an upside to it working this way. When you take actions in life, those actions over time become forged into your identity, for better or for worse. You could change your actions as you go. You can develop your identity as you want by changing your actions. So in that way, if you are expressing properly on your channel and you are making content you want to make, then you're developing your identity in a way that you want to be developed. Making videos is another action you can take towards building the identity you want to inhabit. That principle goes for better or for worse, depending on what you want to make. Be conscious with what you're making, be directed with what kind of content you're making, and this part of the downsides could actually be a major benefit rather than a downside. That's everything I've had written down. How long has this been? 22 minutes. I was not expecting this to be 22 minutes long. Obviously, I'll cut it down. The video will probably be a lot shorter. Yeah, this is the first real video I've made. I have a few other videos on this channel, which I may keep up or I may take down, but whatever, right? For now, if you liked, please go ahead and help me with the algorithm, send me out there, whatever. Give it a like, give it a subscribe, and yeah, comment down below. I'm curious to hear what you guys think. If you want to make a channel, if this helped you in any way, if you can relate in any way, really excited to talk to you guys. So yeah, I will catch you later. See ya.